Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
All right, welcome back to Business Innovators Radio. This is James Healy, and today I'm talking with Audra Brehm of Brit Media, a marketing agency based in beautiful Denver, Colorado. She also has a podcast called The Social Small Talk. And she's here today to tell me a little bit about how she helps her clients, which is a kind of a cool specialty industry. And she's also going to share her latest obsession with us, right, Audra?
Yeah. Thanks, James.
Welcome to the show. All right.
I'm laughing, obviously, because offline, I told James my new obsession, and it's the first thing he has to bring up, but that's fine. James, thanks so much for having me on the show. I'm excited. I say that too often, probably just because I word vomit a lot, but I am. I love being able to talk about what we do at Brit Media and what my passion is.
Awesome. Well, thanks again for joining me. And so tell us a little bit about, and I tease this, who you help and how you help them. Who specifically are you interested in helping these days?
Yeah, so myself and Brit Media, depending upon who we want to talk about. I like to talk about Brit Media much more. We help beauty brands, and that encompasses hair, skincare, fashion, health, and wellness. Brands elevate their success on social media. And by success, I mean actually converting sales, not just click-throughs, not impressions. We build a sales funnel to make sure that conversions actually happen to grow their business online.
Right. Now, I know most people, when we think about beauty brands on social media, we're thinking like influencers with big followings and that kind of thing. This is different what you're doing, right? You're actually helping them create a working sales funnel.
Yeah. So the difference between what we do is there's a lot of differences. One in particular is we actually work with the brand. So whether it's a manufacturer that creates the products or the one that owns the product, but we help them be able to, one, actually go to influencers and talk to them and get them to start creating an overnight success, supposedly, for brands. But really, we dive into the strategic development of saying, all right, what is your 6-month plan? What's your 12-month plan? What's your 5-year goal? And from there, we backtrack and we build out an actual funnel through inbound and outbound lead management from social media to attract, whether it's on the consumer or distributor section in the beauty industry, and be able to get them to their website and convert over. From there, obviously, we want to go into paid advertising, whether that's retargeting, whether that's lookalike audiences, whether that's email marketing. We really elevate these brands to be able to go into a full circle marketing team to be able to partner with them and actually elevate those sales. So most companies get people to go on the website and go, okay, that's good. But what we do is we take that extra step and layer and be able to retarget to everyone they want to go to as well.
Oh, that's awesome. It sounds like you take, I would imagine a lot of these folks are just kind of doing what I call random acts of marketing with social media. And yeah, you are giving them specific strategies and a plan and on a calendar and a timeline. Is that right?
Yes, exactly. I mean, especially in the beauty industry, a lot of brands see bigger companies and go, oh, I want to be just like them. And how can I do the overnight success that I feel like they did? And I think a lot of brands don't realize there's a lot of planning into that, especially strategically figuring out what their goals are, what key metrics they want to look at, what target demographic. A lot of brands actually say, oh, this is my target demographic. And then you look at your Google Analytics and it has nothing to do with who you think you're looking at. So really diving into that and figuring out for them, hey, you might think this, but this is the plan that we set up for you. And on the other note is a lot of these brands, because of other companies, see people being on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, all of these things, and think they have to be on all of them. And in reality, they should at least do one really well and then add, and then do that one really well and then add. Don't just go for it all and hope one of them sticks.
Right. And so do you help them figure out which are the best platforms for them to focus on, depending on their avatar or their customer, I guess?
Exactly. In our first month of any client coming on board at Brit Media, we really dive into the competitor analysis, the strategic plan, 6 months to a year actual plan out, whether that's with a calendar or your avatar, going over your target demographics, really diving into who we want to go after. And from there, actually giving out that timeline, whether that's for just organic or organic and paid, to go over what we need to do and where our metric, like our key metrics, need to be able to see, hey, are we working or is it not working? And I tell all of our clients and anybody I'm talking to, I am probably too honest for this business because I don't want brands to just throw money at a wall and hope it sticks. I want it to actually stick and start off small and then start adding to it. So whether that's a $500 ad spend or $2,000 ad spend, you should start off small and see the conversions happen and then add to it. My thought process is the same on everything when it comes to that. Make sure you're doing one thing very, very well and then start adding. And we tell you where we believe your audience is. Mm-hmm. And that's just from, I've grown up in this industry, in the beauty industry, so I know it very well. But I'm also psycho about looking at analytics. Mm-hmm. I mean, a little too much. Like every day I wake up and that's the first thing I do. I think my husband and my team want to kill me half the time because I'm always like, hey, this is what's happening. They're like, you just looked at this an hour ago. I'm like, I know, but I want to see it again.
Right.
But it means a lot for our clients because at least we're diving into the back end to give them our expertise and be able to show them where they should be heading and what we believe they should be doing.
Right. That's awesome. Do you find some of these brands, some of the folks you work with, are they hesitant or apprehensive because maybe they've had a bad experience in the past? Like they've tried the social media thing, and because they didn't understand that they needed to be focusing on a certain platform, they were just trying whatever was they were told they were supposed to try, and it didn't really work ideally. Are they hesitant?
Yes. I mean, I would say probably 80 to 90% of the brands we talk to are always hesitant, or we hear social media doesn't work for sales. Yeah. It never converts. And the way I go about it is, and this is probably going to raise a couple eyebrows, but I started my business because I don't love marketers, to say the least. Like, I think a lot of us become very fluff. We promise things we can't deliver before we ever know any of our clients. And instead, we really need to dive into who our clients are and make sure that we understand what their needs are before we promise anything. Because when it comes to marketing and sales, you really can't promise something. Mm-hmm. You can test and get the best result from that test, but you can't promise something before you know nothing about them. So for us, when we talk to our clients, or even just in our sales process, we're really just educating them upon what we've seen, but also what we believe they could be doing better. So a lot of them just post to post because they believe they need to have at least 1 to 4 posts a day on different social media outlets, when in reality, it needs to be posting for a reason. Consumers right now are so smart. They're not looking at social media just to see a pretty picture. They're looking for a reason, what it's going to do to their hearts, what they actually care about, what are their friends using. Mm-hmm. If you're just posting a flat lay picture and hoping that's going to sell your product, it never will.
Right.
So it's really just educating, especially these brands, to show, yes, maybe it hasn't worked in the past for you, but there's a reason why. And let's look at what's been posted. What are your competitors doing? What we believe you can do a lot better. Most of the time, it's people have the fun toggle switch between Instagram and Facebook, saying whatever you post on Instagram, you should just post on Facebook. Mm. that's a big no-no, especially in the beauty world. You have two very different demographics on Instagram and Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
You need to know that as a brand. You need to know that your voice should be different on those two. So it's really it's education,
Right.
educating these brands on why they're seeing other success and why they're not seeing success from it.
Right. Yeah. They got to get the tone right for the platform and for people who are listening to their message.
Yes, exactly. And I always say it drives me crazy when I see the toggle button. It just, for me, especially when I'm on the consumer side, it just looks lazy to me when brands do that, because it's almost like, meh, this will work. It's like, well, then do you not care about your consumers that are looking at this? Because they do. They actually look at that and see what's happening.
Yeah. Even if they're not, noticing it specifically, they're feeling it, right? Like somehow they just know. It's like I just had a discussion with someone about using stock photos on a website. Like people recognize that now, and it doesn't quite fit. You gotta either have pictures of your actual customers, your actual, people, or it's not going to fit correctly when people see that. And that's the same thing with your social media messaging. It's got to fit properly, right?
Exactly. And it is a lot of testing as well. So yeah, someone might not figure it out on the first day, but you should very much hope by the last day of 1 month that they have figured out who that audience is and what is their, almost like their spidey sense. Like, what is that thing that gets them to go after it and want to always purchase from there?
Right.
And I call it the sweet spot. And a lot of beauty brands really just copy. They're not being themselves. And we talk about authenticity on social media a lot with our brands, and really talking about, why did you start your brand? Why did you start your company? Yeah, money is a thing, but what led you to actually starting it? And making sure that's conveyed to the consumer. Consumers want that story. They want to know that they are helping a brand that cares about them, not just that's money hungry and wants to just make a lot of money. It's what are you doing to help me? And sometimes I think brands lose that focus, especially on social media.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Do you have an example? I mean, you don't have to use names or anything, but of someone who you've helped through this process where they came in and they just weren't getting it. They were saying it's not working for us. We've tried it. And then you help them see the light, so to speak.
So I'm nodding my head and laughing because I just had this conversation this morning with one of our clients, and they're a skincare company. They've been with us for about 2 years. Before us, they actually had another agency working with them. And it used to be a thing that agencies, and I know agencies are still doing this, bought followers. And while Vanity Metrics were great at one point, which they really weren't, but that's what people were looking at, there was no conversion. So when we had talked to this skincare brand, they were saying social media doesn't work. There's nothing about it that works. And then we started diving into why they thought so. So we looked at their audience. They're a US brand. They actually only sell to the US and Canada, but I think it was, I wish I remembered the exact number, but I think it was about 72% of their followers on social media alone were actually from overseas. It was from India. It was from Pakistan. They had a really random amount of Russian followers, and that was a huge red flag. They actually didn't know that they had agency before us actually purchasing followers. That's a big reason that we see conversions not happen, because they're not real. Those people are never going to buy from you. Just because you have 1 million followers doesn't mean anything. You're really looking for who's your target audience and how can you make them purchase from you. So in the course of 2 years, their social media alone is about 80% of their business now, where it was like 5% beforehand.
Wow.
So what we've seen over the course is making sure that not only the organic and great content part of it, but also knowing your audience and then advertising to them, making sure you're targeting the correct people, making sure you're retargeting them. That hands down actually creates a sales funnel and then ultimately shows that your numbers are going to go up. So I'm laughing because it's like we hear it all the time. And there's just evidence that if you know what you're doing and you do it well, you can make sure that these brands are elevating to success and they're not just staying stagnant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so true. The Vanity Metrics, it's kind of a holdover from years ago when people were just trying to get as many likes as they could, right?
Well, and I think a lot of people are seeing that now with influencer marketing too.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, while influencers are great and there is a big positive part of it, a lot of it became vanity. How many likes did they have? How many followers did they have? If they had 1 million followers, they could charge a lot more. But brands weren't seeing sales from that a lot of the time because a lot of those people did purchase followers. So then you had to go into this whole thing of, can I scan their followers to make sure they're real? Are they bots? Are they not bots? And this goes back to when we were just saying about authenticity. It's the vanity metrics do not matter anymore.
Right.
What is my conversion rate? What is my return on ad spend? And how can I make sure I grow my business? And really, that's what brands should be looking at, not the how many followers do I have?
Yeah.
I do say that engagement on social media is like our form of currency. So I wouldn't say that's a vanity metric just because you actually want people to care about you because then more people are talking about you. But impressions, followers, that kind of stuff, it really does not matter if your website sales are not going up.
Right. Yeah. You want to be having those conversations with people and your customers. And that's, I guess, what social media is all about. It's being social.
Yes, exactly. My downward spiral into the rabbit hole.
You can't go down the rabbit hole. Audra, you told us a little bit. Well, you didn't tell us, but you mentioned it at the beginning that you grew up in this industry. Is this how you got into the marketing of beauty brands? Can you tell us a little bit about your story, how this happened?
Yeah. So funny enough, I'm a New Yorker at heart. I was born and raised on Long Island, and my mom was actually a beauty brand sales rep. So my whole life was, and this will slightly date me, but hopefully not too much, but my mom sold BioSilk. And I just remember it being like the coolest thing. And I used to be a hair model at every hair show. And I would have to go into all of these salons and sit down. And my hair went from pink to purple to blue to very short to not short to having bangs. Anybody in the beauty industry knows what I'm talking about because it's just so ridiculous how much you change your hair. But people don't realize this about the beauty industry, and I realized it as a kid, is it's much more tight-knit than you expect. Like people looking in go, oh, that's just a big industry. It's not. It's 100% who you know, when you know them, and how you know them, and everyone knows everyone. So whether you're the new brand on the market or the very big one, everyone knows someone. It's kind of like who's the guy in Footloose? Why can't I think of his name?
Kevin Bacon?
Yes, it's like the way to get to Kevin Bacon, right?
5 degrees, yeah.
Yep, it's the same thing in the beauty industry.
Right.
And I just found this huge passion and knowledge for knowing everything and anything about the beauty industry. And when you're in the hair industry, that leads to skincare and it leads to fashion very easily because they all coincide. One of my first jobs was actually at a hair product company, and I started as a customer service rep. And it's kind of when social media started, and by started, I mean like barely, but we started growing that presence, and it was just this indie brand. And all of a sudden we started doing email marketing and some Facebook content and just seeing it grow. And I just became so utterly passionate about it that it became not just a hobby, but it became almost like an obsession. Like I actually say I stalk social media for a reason because I'm on it too often. But I just wanted to know everything and anything. I wanted to know what the algorithm was doing, what people loved about it, what they hated about it, what they were actually reading. And then I just found this huge part of it that the beauty industry, and I said this earlier, was just copying.
Mm.
So when I realized that there was a lot of, oh, I know I can do this, and then not, I can't do this. And I kind of just took the leap of faith and decided to go for it. And I've never looked back. And I'm honestly so honored to own a digital marketing agency, especially in the beauty industry, fashion and health and wellness and skincare. But it's amazing to hear what clients come back and say after working with others or not having an agency work with them, that they just feel blessed to honestly have a partner that is willing to not share just the good news, but honestly share the real news of going, this isn't working. We need to segue in a different way. And that's something that we value at Brit Media, is making sure we tell the truth, even if it hurts.
Yeah. Well, you know that industry inside and out from that. That's like you say, you're their partner. So.
And it's true. I do. I know enough, honestly, to act as though I was probably a hairdresser in another lifetime, which sounds so funny, but I could never cut hair and I could never color it, but I can speak to this industry, and I believe like no one else, just because of how much I've grown up in it. And it's funny because people don't understand the difference between being a manufacturer and a distributor, and making sure consumers still like your brand, but also having salespeople, like your sales reps on the ground, really helping your distribution, your manufacturer. There's just a lot more to the industry that I really have such a passion for, to make sure all working parts work together. And that's really what social media is supposed to do, is captivate those audiences together, and not just have like, oh, this is the consumer brand, or oh, this is the professional brand. It's no, this is for everyone. We just need to make sure we're talking to each individual so it feels good about it.
That's awesome. Did you learn a lesson early on when you started in your digital marketing agency business that you use today? It still impacts you on how you do business with these clients, partners, I should say. They're partners, not really clients.
Yeah. Go with your gut. I learned that very early on. That's something silly and probably something I should have learned much quicker. But I used to be a yes man. I just wanted to help everyone. And even if I didn't really think that their website could convert, I just felt like, oh, we can absolutely help them. And it became very apparent to go with my gut and know that if I don't see conversions happening yet, it wasn't going to happen, even if we tried our hardest. And being that partner for our clients and going with our gut and always telling them how it is and where we see things going has been the best thing for us and for me. I mean, I bring that professionally and personally. I just get weird feelings in my stomach and I go, yep, I can't do that. Or yes, this is the best thing for us. So going with our gut, it could have saved me a lot of gray hairs.
Yeah, I could maybe still have hair. I could have done that.
Sometimes your gut isn't right, but most of the time it is.
What would you say, as we start to think about wrapping up here, what is the one thing that beauty brands, health brands, those you work with especially, should ask themselves when they consider how they should connect with their ideal audiences, especially on digital and social media, the areas you focus on?
Yeah, I think that's just a really good question. But I think they really need to dive into their analytics. I think a lot of brands, like I said before, think they know who their audience is, but looking at your website analytics and looking at who's converting, who's actually purchasing, and find that persona from there. If you have that locked in, you are ready to market. You are ready to advertise. You're ready to do social media marketing. Obviously, there's other things to it, which is, do you have the inventory for it? What's your shipping methods? Stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But if you understand your target market, even if it's like 3 different ones or 5 different ones, but you have this concept,
Mm-hmm.
that's when you're in that sweet spot. When you don't know that, or you don't really understand what your voice is or what your mission is for your brand, that's when I would take a step back and go, I'm not prepared for this. And I really need to figure out what our goals are to be able to get to that moment. Because we've definitely run across some brands that they think they're ready, and we've tried, and it's not the audience at all. And when we start going through that first month of strategic looking at the analytics and creating an actual strategy and looking at competitor analysis and stuff like that, it doesn't match up to what they've said. And I think you really need to understand behind the scenes and behind the curtains and underneath the hood, all of those fun sayings, before you decide to take the leap of faith that your sales will be able to increase.
That's such a good point. Knowing your numbers, I think it's avoided by a lot of people because it's not their sweet spot, right? Like they just don't like numbers.
Yeah, and I think sometimes
So
analytics
they don't
can
deal with it.
confuse people. Like I truly believe that a lot of people, if they understood what they were looking at, would find it more interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But when you look at what's a CPE, what's a CPC, and all of these different things, even what's an impression compared to what's an engagement,
Mm-hmm.
I think what happens is we get so caught up in terminology that we don't understand what's actually happening.
Mm.
So for that, maybe that's when, and truly I believe it, is when you call an agency. I'm happy to be that person, and ask them questions. Ask them about what these words mean and how to interpret things like that. That agency shouldn't be charging you. They should be helpful. They should be wanting to teach you, not just taking your money for granted.
Yeah, so true. All right, before I let you go, tell us a little bit about your latest obsession.
I knew I wasn't going to get away from
You're not going to get off that easy.
My obsession is TikTok right now. And by like obsession, I mean like possibly 2 to 4 hours a day of me just scrolling through a rabbit hole of like laughing, crying,
Right.
trying to pretend I know how to dance, thinking I'm funny, and then realizing I'm not as funny as I think. It's just, I truly believe that TikTok has, especially in the time that we're in right now, is that social media channel that we were all craving. That isn't like the fakeogram. It's not mom book. It's just fun.
Right.
And it's 60 seconds or less of just pure enjoyment rather than sitting there listening to people complain or watching The Perfect Life or anything like that. And yeah, I am obsessed with it. I talk about it too much.
It's super fun. I have to agree.
And the funny thing is we all kind of knocked it a couple of years ago when it was Musically and then TikTok, and it was like the youngins, it was the 13-year-olds that were cool on there that did it. And now all of a sudden it's literally everyone in their 30s and 40s that think it's the coolest thing. We've kind of taken over.
That's so funny. Oh my gosh. Well, awesome. Tell our audience how they can find out more about Brit Media and your podcast. We didn't talk at all about that. The social small talk. You could tell us a little bit about that and how we can connect.
Yeah. Well, first, the social small talk is just a podcast for beauty lovers like myself. We're talking to CEOs, owners, marketing directors, VPs, all about what's worked and what hasn't worked on digital marketing for these brands. And I think, unfortunately, when it comes to the beauty industry, it becomes very standoffish about what's worked for them and what hasn't, because they feel very competitive. And what we are doing on our podcast is just making it an open book and giving real life examples, helping each other out, building up success. So that way people aren't making the exact same mistakes all the time. And I think it happens way too often because we find those copycatters. And really it's all about just empowerment for making each other better marketers and or business owners. So that's the social small talk in a little nutshell. And then to be able to find myself and Brit Media, you can always go to britmedia.com. You can find us on all social platforms at Brit Media. And then for myself, for Audra, you can find me on LinkedIn. It's just Audra Brehm. It's not the most exciting name. I don't have a fun middle name like most people, so you can just find me easily. Same thing. Follow me on TikTok because I'm way more fun there than anywhere else. You can see the behind the scenes of what it's like to be a agency owner and try to maneuver having 2 kids and staying at home right now.
Yeah. Always a challenge.
Yeah.
Sometimes fun.
It depends on the moment, but yes.
Yeah. I know. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me, everyone. This has been great, learning about you and your business and the other side of beauty brands and health brands, and understanding how we all can benefit from what you're offering as well on the social small talk. It's a great show. Thank you.
I really appreciate it, James. Thank you so much.
All right. Take care.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.